Well, the last video seems to have struck a nerve with some folks, and there are a ton of comments. And while I wasn't planning on doing this, we're going to dive into answering some of those questions, addressing some of those concerns, and talking more about the Yamaha MODX M7. Welcome back to Danny Robertson Music, where we're helping you be the performer that you are meant to be. I'm Danny Robertson. Thanks for joining me, as always. This week, we're talking about my last video, which did a lot of views, and it got a lot of comments. Some of them were very constructive, some of them were very inspirational, and some of them were flat out rude. We're going to talk about some of these today. We're going to look at the constructive ones, the slightly rude ones, and we're going to talk about what we can all learn from this as a group of musicians, as a group of performers. So first, the backstory. I shot a quick video talking about how I replaced my Yamaha MODX M7 that is right behind me here on the top shelf with a new Yamaha, what I called the MODX M7, and I was definitely attacked for that one. The official name of the keyboard, which I should have known in the first place, is the MODX M7, which is referring back to the DX series from the 80s, which is very, very well known in Yamaha technology. It's very well known as keyboard players, and quite frankly, I should have thought of that. I'm going to chalk that one up to just being really excited about the keyboard and not really thinking about the name. So if I offended you by saying the name of the keyboard wrong, I'm very sorry, and it won't happen again. Okay, moving on. So probably the biggest thing that got discussed was the discussion of the scenes feature within the MODX M7. I will say this, on the Yamaha MODX XF7, we didn't really have a scenes feature, but we did have something similar in the song and pattern mode where you could kind of pick and choose what sections of a song you were doing at a given time and what parts of those songs you were playing. So the scenes feature within the MODX M7 works very similarly, and I'm sure this is kind of the case with the montage and the previous MODX versions of the keyboard. Let me show you how this works. I'm still a little new to this, so I'm actually learning it as I go. But basically, the suggestion was, I was working on the song Lovely Mountain the last time that I shot this video. I had only had the keyboard for about 12 hours at that point in time, and I had only come up with a certain part of that performance. I had come up with about four sounds within that performance that I was going to be using. I have since, almost right after shooting the video, found out about the scenes, worked through a couple of the scenes, and made a couple of patches myself within this Lovely Mountain setup. So what it has is, we've got something like this where I typically play the song Isn't She Lovely? Right? And what I had done in the previous video was show that I could take down these faders and put up this one to create the solo sound of the harmonica. Right? What the comments were is that I don't have to do that. I can actually create a separate scene within this performance that will basically let me press one button and I'd automatically switch between those two. I will say that in my case, sometimes that is useful and sometimes it wouldn't be, because I would like the faders to exist so that I can blend sounds together at the same time. In this case, it does make sense. So we're going to walk you through how you would do that to create the scene. Basically, we've got the Lovely Mountain sound, right? With the piano and the sweetness sound, that's kind of a Rhodes style sound. And what I want to be able to do is switch to the harmonica by just pressing a button. So what I can do is I can take down the other two sounds, bring up the harmonica. Right here where these little blue buttons are, those are each a scene that I can create within this performance. So what I can do here is I can press the button Shift, and I can press whichever scene I want to and leave that as a new scene within the song, within the performance. So now, if I were to go back to the one, I'm here, but I just saved this one. And I can go back and forth between the two. So that's kind of how scenes work. Now, what you can also do with this, there's ways to use this, different ways that you can make it effective for your performance. Okay. Now, I think a lot of keyboard players do it this way, is that like if they play a song and they move on to the next song, or they move on to a different part of the song, you can add the next part of the equation systematically, one after another. The way I prefer to do it, because I play in a band that changes its music quite regularly on stage, is that I want to have access to a lot of different sound setups very quickly. So if you look at my live set here, my entire show right now is being done through 4 live performance sets. So I have Lovely Mountain. I've created one for the song Shut Up and Dance, which includes some other songs in it as well. And then Play That Funky Music and a few other songs like that. And then some other songs that are kind of specific. Lovely Mountain, for example, I have a scene for Isn't She Lovely? And I use these sounds for quite a few different songs. I have a scene set up for something like this. I have a scene set up for the song Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Right? And there are a few other things available in here that I can use if I want to with faders. But those are the main 3 that I would use for this setup on this performance. So scenes are a great tool. You can use it all over the place. Let me see if I can figure out a couple of other ones here. As of right now, I don't know the keyboard very well yet, so I've created a little cheat sheet for myself that I keep on stage with me. So for example, in the Play That Funky Music one, I've got one that goes, I've got that kind of sound. It also goes to other songs, like I can press the number 3 scene and all of a sudden I'm ready for Uptown Funk. Right? Same set of sounds within the performance, but the scene allows me to set up what I'm using within that performance, okay? And it's a great little tool. I was not familiar with it when I shot the last video, and I probably will be using it more. There are some things that you want to pay attention to, because polyphony will become an issue if you're using too many sounds at the same time. Polyphony is basically, for those of you who don't know, it's your board usually has a certain amount of notes that you can press and things you can do at the same time. So with a board like this, I believe it's something around 128. And that is not a problem most of the time, but it could be a problem in something like, let's use a concert piano sound. I probably just used a whole bunch of those 128 notes all at the same time with that, because I've got the foot pedal running at the same time. Okay, so that's the scenes feature. The next thing that was talked about a lot, which was very constructive, very helpful for me while I was setting up this keyboard, was that at the time, I had only set up a few sounds. I was looking for a few sounds within the keyboard structure itself. And a couple of people, probably about a dozen people, did make a comment that you can basically just take the sounds off of your motif and import them in. And I did that to some extent. Part of the reason why I got this keyboard the way I did is I wanted to reset that up in certain ways. I didn't want to take exactly what I did over here. I wanted to basically restructure all of that and redo it in a way that was more functional for me personally on stage. In some cases, especially songs that had samples in those sounds, I needed to be able to pull it from my Yamaha motif and bring it into the Yamaha MODX. Now, the way to do that is basically just use a USB key, and it's simple. You basically just pull the file off of the old keyboard. When you put the drive into the keyboard, it'll find the USB stick, and it basically, then you can press the file button, and you can see that it's looking at the library file, but you have the option to load. So you can actually choose from a different file set, and you can basically pick and choose the files that you need to add in. It will recognize the things that were used on other keyboards. Like, for example, I have an old motif sequence that I didn't put on this yet, but it found the file, it recognizes the file, and I could press the button and load it into this board if I wanted to. Okay. It's a great little tool. It does allow for samples to come into play. You can put samples triggered to specific notes within your board. Now, I've only done that so far on my motif. I have not tried that specifically on this board yet, but basically the ones that I did on the motif when I brought the file over, let me show you. So, for example, like I just showed you Uptown Funk was a sample. And I was able to put it to the actual notes where I would play it. And I can even play that out of order if I want to. Right? We do the song Levitating, and that one is, we use this. So I have this set up in two ways. So I have that sound for two bars. I have a sound that goes up like that. And then when I go in to play it, I can trigger it so that in order for the drummer to be able to ebb and flow a little bit, I have to be able to play that 2 times. So, and it stops. I also complement it with an existing string sound. Come on, dance with me. And it goes on like that. But those are the kinds of sounds that I might need to use within my live show. So I've brought those samples over. It was very quick and easy, and I was able to put them quickly into the board. It's very intuitive if you've played with any type of Yamaha keyboard before. While we're still at the keyboard, there were a few things that were asked about, like the sounds of particular kinds of instruments. Like I know there was a lot of talk about the organ sounds and how the organs on MODX and Motif and various other Yamaha instruments have not been great by comparison to some of the other brands. A lot of comments came in favor of the YC organ sounds. That's another Yamaha series. It's also another very light keyboard, which a lot of people were recommending as the keyboard of choice for stage musicians. And I will say this, it's a great board. And if you're an organ player, you would want to have a board like that. The thing that it does not have, from what I've read, is that it does not have easy sampling capabilities. And it's great for the stage player who does a lot of pianos, a lot of Rhodes, and a lot of organ sounds, those kinds of things. It's more designed for that kind of player. And the organs are apparently incredible on that board. So some other boards that were suggested in the same vein of things, light keyboards that are very functional, were like, there were a couple of Nord boards, like I think it was the Electro and the Compact were very recommended. And there was even a couple of Roland boards and everything like that. There are a lot of good boards. This just happened to be the one that fit what I was looking for in a board. It was light. It was easy for me to get up and running with this board, which was a big factor on it. I wanted to be able to kind of take this one out of the equation and run with the new one as quick as I possibly could. And I've been able to do that. I bought the board, got it on a Monday, and was able to play a gig on Friday and Saturday of that same week. This board is already getting a lot of use, and it seems to be holding its own so far. A couple of things that are nice that I didn't previously have on my motif is, for one example, is this octave sound right here. You can go up and down an octave on any patch, any sound that you're playing, right? So let's say I'm playing just a simple piano sound. That has been available since the motifs, right? Now, what changed with these newer boards is you can also hold down the shift button and click the same octave button, and instead you will just transpose down a step instead of a whole octave. And it tells you where you are in terms of that. right on the screen. So you know how far you've transposed yourself. I find that very useful. My Alesis QS8 had a very cool feature for that I could just press 2 buttons and transpose to whatever spot that I needed to be. This is as close as I've seen for that in a long time. So I'm very excited to have that feature. Another feature that I didn't expect to like that I really like is there's a couple of buttons over here in the far corner on the board. There's a song that I do. We do Party in the USA. And the sound that I use is just a simple like synthy sound. And when I've played that previously, I've put in a little bit of portamento in it to give it that wow, wow kind of wah sound. And that was part of the patch that I was using. I had actually worked on that to make it do what I wanted it to do. It's not there on this version of it. And this was something I actually brought in to the keyboard. I can press the portamento button and I can go. You hear that sound, right? So it lets me have that little stretch. But here's the neat thing about it. It also comes with a time button. So let's say I put it all the way down here and I want to do some kind of growing sound. I can stretch it by increasing the time and going. Whoops. Let's try that again. Not bad, right? I don't use it much, but it's something that when I need it, it's there. And I love it. The other thing that I didn't expect to like, and I just tried it in the gig this last weekend, for certain songs, there are parts of the song where the keyboard holds a note for a while. And I really don't have to do much, but I usually have to hold down my sustain pedal on the ground just to keep it going. There's a neat little button here that says keyboard hold. I press that. For example, on Shut Up and Dance With Me, that song has a synthy sound at the beginning that kind of holds like that, right? And I would normally press the sustain pedal and hold it so that I could do something energetic with my hands, keep the energy going, do the stage show. And I really kind of don't love that. I always was dependent on keeping my foot in one place. This keyboard hold button, I can press that, press the button, and walk away from the keyboard. And when I need to play it again, I can change it. And what it does is it only holds the most recent information. You know, that kind of thing. And then when I want to, I can add the extra pieces of the equation, fade it in. Right? So you get the idea, but that keyboard hold button is great. I use it in probably maybe 5 places in the entire show, but it's one of those where because that's there, I can actually, grab my GoPro camera and film something while my keyboard is still playing, or I can walk around the stage or get close to the singer, make the show a little bit more interesting, more exciting, do something visual while the keyboard is still covering the note. It's a really cool little feature. So now let's talk quickly about a couple of things that I will say I'm not a huge fan of when performing with this keyboard live. I've been able to do my last few shows with basically these 4 banks and then a piano sound and one other sound. It's been nice because most of my performances are set up to these 4 spots. It's really nice for that factor. But when I need to go find something on my motif, it was as easy as knowing what buttons to press quickly. It's a little bit harder to find a sound quickly on this MODX M7. It doesn't kind of lay it out very easily, where if I don't know that it's an analog or a warm sound or a bright sound or a choir sound, I might not find it as quickly as I want to. So I'm finding that I have to use this wheel a little bit more than I want to and go through an entire list. I'm finding that as I'm doing this, I just need to know how to prepare for it a little bit better. And once I get to that point, these will be fine. The other thing that I'm not a huge fan of is, let me show you here. Let's pretend that I need to change a fader for something. What I'm finding is that I hit a fader And if you watch this, I'll hit a fader and I'll accidentally bump this button. And all of a sudden a screen pops up on me, and I'm not trying to do it, but I'm actually like changing maybe the EQ or the FX setting just because I bumped a button. And I don't love that. I've got to figure out if those can be turned off during a performance. So those are the two things that I've really found I don't love so far about this MODX. But for the most part, this has been a great keyboard. It's going great live. I think that this will be a good board long term. I'm hoping that it has the staying power for it to last for quite a while. So hopefully we're going to see this for at least 10 years. That's my guess. One other thing I forgot to mention that I'm not a huge fan of with this board is the fact that it comes with a power supply that has a big brick in the middle of it. My previous board was just a single cable that ran to the power strip. It's actually a pretty common thing with Yamaha that they do a smaller connection to the board, and then that goes to a power brick, which then goes to a different cable, and that connects to the power strips and things like that. Another thing that we saw a lot of comments on was the questions about the keybed in relation to how good of quality it is for piano players. I started with a full 88 key. It was full weighted, and the hammer action was very good on that keyboard. Moved to the Motif XF7. I went to a semi-weighted setup. It's still probably my favorite keyboard to play with as far as the playability of the keys. The keys had a great weight to them, and they felt solid even though it was semi-weighted. By comparison, the MODX M7, it has a similar feel to the way you play the keys, but it definitely feels lighter, feels a little bit cheaper than what I saw with the Motif XF7. I still think that these keys are very playable, but I think that what you want to do is if you're considering this board, you want to definitely try it out first before you buy it. I did. I knew what I was getting into when I bought it. It was a good enough situation for me. The keys are decent, but they're not spectacular. That's the way I'd put it. So for guys like Antoine Souris, who commented, I'm more of a pianist and prefer 88 key options. The lightweight features are so important too. I just hope the keybed is good enough. My suggestion for you is if you're considering that, definitely try the board out in a music store before you actually buy one, okay? Otherwise, you may or may not be happy with your choice. If you're a piano player, this might not be the keyboard for you unless you try the 88 key option. It is still a little bit heavier though. It's about 30 pounds, I believe. Okay. So try things out, see what you think. I hesitated to even talk about this because this was something that caught me off guard, and it was unbecoming of the people making the comments. There were several comments alluding to age-related issues, to weight-related issues, specifically how heavy I am, and that is the reason why I can't carry keyboards anymore. It was uncalled for, and it was rude. So I feel the need to talk about it really quick. The people making those comments probably should take a look at themselves in the mirror and think about why they're choosing to be rude to some random person on the internet. We are all musicians here. We're all trying to do the best we can. We're all trying to create the best version of our performances. We don't need to tear each other down. It's unbecoming of you, and you can do better. While I do think that was intended to insult me, hurt my feelings, I just simply delete comments like that. It's not what this channel is for. You will not get that recognition for being a jerk. So choose to be better. And if you can't do that, really don't bother looking at this channel, okay? Either way, I wish you the best of luck, both in your performances and in your life. But I do think you need to work on yourself. We're here on this channel for encouragement, not bullying, not degrading, not insulting. Encouragement. Lifting each other up, okay? Be a part of that. Finally, I want to point out a lot of the great comments that came from this video. A lot of you said that you had recently bought a new board, or you had found the right board for you. Whether it was the MODX or not, you found a lightweight option that was able to take you gigging, and you were able to make good use of that. You can't ask for anything more as a musician. You want to be able to play the shows you want to play and do them well. I know that I was made fun of by a couple of people for the irony of saying we all have gear acquisition syndrome when we're younger. And but because I'm getting older, I need to buy a new piece of gear. I found that funny. I found the irony of that kind of relatable to most of us, but there was a reason for this purchase. I had not purchased a keyboard in over 10 years, and this keyboard was starting to become unreliable from the stage. I had multiple issues where it was either cutting in and out from some of the spots that were in the keyboard itself, not from a cable. This keyboard was on borrowed time almost immediately after I got it. The fact that it lasted about 13 years before it started giving me real issues, it was a testament to what quality Yamaha has. I am hoping I see the same level of quality and sustainability from using this MODX. It's actually made my gigging process just a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, a little bit less hard on my body, which, by the way, a lot of people thought I was younger than I am. So I want to point out that I am almost 50 right now. I've been dancing since I was 14. So I have problems with my knees, and I still continue to perform and beat up my body a little bit. So it has taken its toll on me over time. And that is part of the reason why I chose to get a new keyboard. So if you want to make fun of my gear acquisition syndrome, my gas, you can totally do that. But there was a real reason for this. Okay. I do want to say that there was one specific comment from @Riftwitch, which had me a little bit sad, because we were talking about aging and how aging affects your ability to get out and perform. And you try your best to keep on staying out there and doing those gigs. This person pointed out that they started performing when they were 14 years old and are currently 67. And because of health issues with their body, they are no longer able to get out and perform and lug equipment and do those 2 or 3 or 4 hour gigs. And so they have completely abandoned performing. And they do record at home, but they miss gigging. And I understand that pain. I feel very, very heartfelt sorry for that gentleman or woman that is behind that name. Gigging gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a sense of community when you play with a band, and it gives you a drive to better yourself in terms of your performing career, your musical ability. I just hope that this person gets their chance to get out there and do some gigs again. I encourage you as musicians, as performers, and as human beings to lift each other up, to aim for the best performance you can do, and aim for the best person that you can be. Okay. So that's it for this week. Hopefully you got something out of this. This was kind of a cluster of putting everything together in terms of what we were seeing from the previous video. But I wish you luck on your next gig. I wish you luck in your life. Treat each other kindly, and we'll see you soon. Take care.